Thank you for taking the time to listen to today's story. If you enjoyed it, please like and subscribe if you haven't already. If you have a story to share about your own or someone else's experience, please feel free to contact me. Take care. On a cold fall morning, Thaddeus stood at the window of his apartment, gazing out at the world. Outside the window, maple leaves are falling in a slow but determined rhythm, creating a poignant picture against the gray sky. Thaddeus took a deep breath, the icy air filling his lungs as if it also froze the longing for warmth and love that was deep within him. Thaddeus did not have a happy childhood. His mother, Zephyr, is a senior accountant with a busy schedule and is always cold and distant towards him. Whenever Thaddeus longed for a hug or a gentle word, he was often greeted by Zephyr's tired and impatient eyes. Those eyes, which should have been filled with motherly love, made Thaddeus feel like his very existence was a mistake. "Thaddeus, leave me alone. I have work to do." This is what Zephyr says to him most often. Every time he heard these words, the young Thaddeus felt a pang of heartache, as if an invisible hand had tightened its grip on his heart. However, life is not entirely without sunshine. When Thaddeus was 5 years old, Zephyr met Quentin, a well-known neurosurgeon. Tall and handsome with a gentle smile, Quentin soon comes into Zephyr's life and also becomes Thaddeus' stepfather. In stark contrast to Zephyr, Quentin gives Thaddeus more warmth and affection than ever before. Not only does he unstintingly take care of Thaddeus materially, but more importantly, he spends time with Thaddeus and teaches him the ways of the world. "Thaddeus, remember that true families are built on mutual understanding and respect." Quentin often told him this, in a gentle but firm tone. "No matter what you become in the future, remember to treat your family with love. Love is the most powerful force. It heals all wounds." These words were like warm sunshine, slowly dispelling the gloom in Thaddeus' heart. Under Quentin's influence, Thaddeus learned to work hard, respect others, and grew to understand how to love. These invaluable qualities were deeply imprinted in his heart and served as a guide for him later in life. Once, Thaddeus got into an argument with a classmate at school over homework. When he got home, he sat on the couch full of frustration. Quentin notices his abnormality and walks over to him and pats him gently on the shoulder. "What's the matter, little one? It looks like you have something on your mind," Quentin asked gently. Thaddeus hesitated, then told Quentin what had happened. To his surprise, Quentin didn't immediately chastise him or offer a solution, but patiently listened to him and then asked, "Do you think, in this case, you did the right thing?" The question left Thaddeus in deep thought. After much internal struggle, he finally admitted that he might be a bit stubborn. Quentin smiled gratefully and said, "It takes courage to admit your mistakes, and I'm proud of you. Remember, understanding and respect are paramount in any relationship." The conversation left a lasting impression on Thaddeus. He began to learn to put himself in the shoes of others, which not only helped him improve his relationships with his classmates, but also gave him a deeper understanding of family and love. However, despite Quentin's loving care, there is still a hole inside Thaddeus that cannot be filled. Whenever he saw other children close to their parents, he felt a stab of pain. He secretly vowed that one day he would build a loving family and give his children everything he had been missing during his childhood. As time passes, Thaddeus grows up. With Quentin's encouragement and guidance, he studied hard and excelled. After graduating from high school, he attended a prestigious polytechnic university, majoring in computer science, as he had hoped. College years flew by, and Thaddeus became the top of his grade through his intelligence and hard work. Upon graduation, he managed to get a job in the R&D department of a large technology company. The company is housed in a modern building with a glass curtain wall reflecting the sunlight, giving it a feeling of hope and opportunity. Thaddeus walks into work every morning with a rush of excitement and anticipation. He loves his work and enjoys the sense of accomplishment that comes from solving complex problems. It is here that he meets Aria, a beautiful and intelligent girl. Aria is the company's UX designer, and her gentle smile and thoughtful personality quickly caught Thaddeus' attention. They first met in the company coffee room. That day, Thaddeus was struggling with a tricky programming problem, and while absent-mindedly pouring himself coffee, he accidentally spilled it on Aria's white shirt. "Oh God, I'm so sorry." Thaddeus apologized in a panic, his hands scrambling to try and help wipe it up. However, to his surprise, Aria wasn't angry. Instead, she smiled and said, "It's okay. Looks like you're in some kind of trouble. Do you want to have a chat?" Sometimes when you think differently, the problem will be solved. Thaddeus looked at Aria in surprise, a sudden feeling of wonder welling up in his heart. They sat and chatted, and before they knew it, an hour had passed. Thaddeus is impressed by Aria's intelligence and insight, and her gentle smile is even more compelling. From that day on, Thaddeus and Aria began a frequent relationship. They eat lunch together, discuss problems they encounter at work, and share their interests. Thaddeus finds that Aria is not only competent at her job, but also warm and considerate in her life. At one point, Thaddeus was frustrated with the stress of his job. Aria notices the change in his mood and offers to invite him for a walk in a nearby park. On the tree-lined path, Aria listened patiently as Thaddeus confided, then gently took his hand and said, "Remember, you are not alone. We'll face it together, and everything will be fine." At this moment, Thaddeus felt a sense of warmth and security that he had never felt before. He realizes that Aria is the one who can help him realize his dream of a family. One romantic night, a year after meeting Aria, Thaddeus finally worked up the courage to propose to Aria. He planned an elaborate surprise, setting up a candlelit dinner in the sky garden on the roof of the company building. When Aria entered the garden, she was surprised to see that the surrounding area was decorated with a myriad of small, star-like, twinkling lights, and that the air was filled with the scent of roses. Thaddeus took her hand and said fondly, "Aria, I want to spend the rest of my life with you. We'll build a loving family together, okay?" Aria's eyes glistened with tears as she excitedly nodded her head in agreement. The two embraced each other and made a promise to stay with each other for the rest of their lives under the starlight. Shortly afterward, Thaddeus and Aria were married in a simple and cozy ceremony. It's small, but full of happiness and a vision for the future. Quentin was beaming with pride and relief as a witness. Even the ever-aloof Zephyr showed a rare smile on this day. Shortly after the wedding, Aria became pregnant. When Thaddeus learned the news, he was so excited he could barely speak. He took careful care of Aria and was with her through every stage of her pregnancy. Every night, he speaks softly to Aria's belly, telling his love to his unborn child. Finally, their daughter Zara was born. When the nurse placed little Zara in Thaddeus' arms, he felt happiness and responsibility like never before. Zara's tiny body was warm and soft, and her every movement touched Thaddeus' heart. "My little princess, Daddy will always love and protect you," Thaddeus whispered to the swaddled Zara, tears glistening in his eyes. He vowed in his heart to give Zara the best love he could and make up for everything he had missed in his childhood. Thaddeus worked harder to provide a better life for his family. His talent and creativity were quickly recognized by the company, and he was recommended for a major game development project. This opportunity allowed Thaddeus to showcase his talent by designing new and unique game mechanics that were well received by the team. After the success of the project, Thaddeus was offered a promotion. He successfully transferred to the company's game department and became a game planner. With a job that utilizes both his professional skills and his creative pursuits, Thaddeus is incredibly excited and fulfilled. One day, during an important project briefing, Lysander, the company's director, spoke highly of Thaddeus' performance. "Thaddeus, you were fantastic," Lysander told him privately after the meeting. "Your creativity won us tons of players, and the company decided to give you a raise and promote you." This good news excites Thaddeus. He was the first to share the joy with Aria, and the two hugged and cheered for a bright future. As Thaddeus' career flourished, he and Aria finally realized their dream of purchasing a new home. They bought a bright and spacious apartment in the city center, providing Zara with a stable and comfortable living environment. The new home is located in a modern high-rise apartment building with spacious floor-to-ceiling windows that fill the rooms with sunlight. The living room, furnished with soft sofas and a large rug, is a cozy place for the whole family to gather. Zara's room is decorated in a pink fairy tale world with her favorite cartoon characters plastered all over the walls. Look, Zara, this is your new home. Thaddeus hugged Zara, who was already a little older, and proudly showed her her new home. Mommy and Daddy will always try to make sure you have the best of everything. Zara giggled and slapped Thaddeus' cheek with her tender little hand, as if to express her joy. At this moment, Thaddeus felt immensely happy and felt that he finally had the warm family he had dreamed of during his childhood. However, the happiness didn't last long. As Zara grows older, Thaddeus realizes that family relationships aren't as perfect as he thought. Zara's attitude towards Thaddeus becomes increasingly disrespectful as she enters adolescence, and communication between the two becomes increasingly difficult. At first, Thaddeus thought it was just normal adolescent rebellion, but as it got worse, he began to feel confused and hurt. He tried to remember if he had done something wrong, if he had ignored some of Zara's needs, but couldn't find a clear answer. One night, Thaddeus knocked on Zara's door as usual, wanting to talk to her. "Zara, can you come in? I want to talk to you," Thaddeus said gently. An impatient response came from the room. "What do we need to talk about again? I'm busy." Thaddeus took a deep breath, pushed the door open, and stepped inside. Zara is sitting at her computer, staring at the screen without looking back. The room smelled of strong perfume and the walls were covered with posters of pop stars, a far cry from the fairy tale-inspired room of a few years ago. "Zara, why are you always treating Dad like this lately?" Thaddeus tries to communicate with his daughter. "If there is any problem, we can discuss it together and not be confrontational all the time." Zara finally turned to me with obvious impatience on her face. "You don't understand me at all, so don't pretend to care about me all the time. All you care about is your games. You have no idea what I need." These words were like a sharp blade that pierced Thaddeus' heart deeply. He opened his mouth to explain, but in the end he just sighed and silently exited the room. Standing outside the door, Thaddeus felt both heartbroken and helpless. He didn't understand what he had done wrong and why his daughter had become like this. He begins to wonder if he's really being a good father and if he's really giving Zara enough love. That night, Thaddeus tossed and turned. He thinks back to his childhood and remembers the coldness of his mother, Zephyr, and the warmth his stepfather, Quentin, gave him. He has vowed to be a better parent than Zephyr by giving his children full love and care. But now, looking at the way Zara treats him, he can't help but wonder if he's failed. The next morning, Thaddeus and Aria discuss this in whispers in the kitchen. "Maybe we should give Zara more space," Aria suggested. "Adolescents need some independence." Thaddeus nodded, but there was still concern in his eyes. "I understand, but I don't want to repeat my mother's mistakes. I don't want Zara to think we don't care about her." Aria holds Thaddeus' hand tenderly. "You've done well, my dear. Together, we'll find a way." Nevertheless, Thaddeus did not give up. He still works hard, hoping to fill the gap in his daughter's heart with material fulfillment. He began to pay more attention to Zara's interests, trying to find new ways to communicate with her. Zara's 16th birthday is coming up and Thaddeus decides to give her a special gift. He recalled the happy times when Zara used to play games with him as a child and an idea came to his mind. "Honey, what do you think about getting Zara one of the latest gaming consoles?" Thaddeus asks Aria for advice. "Hasn't she always loved gaming? Maybe this will give us something to talk about in common." Aria thinks for a moment, then nods approvingly. "That's a good idea. Zara should like it. And it really could be an opportunity for you to reconnect." So, Thaddeus spent a lot of money on the newest and most high-end gaming console on the market. Not only does this console have state-of-the-art graphics processing power, but it is also equipped with a virtual reality device for an immersive gaming experience. Thaddeus even purposely chose a few games that Zara might enjoy. He looks forward to seeing Zara's surprised face when she receives the gift, hoping that the gift will repair their relationship. In his imagination, they could play games together and have fun laughing and joking around like they did when they were kids. Zara's birthday party was held at home with some of her friends invited. When Zara opened Thaddeus' elaborate gift, everyone let out a gasp. However, Zara's response was a major disappointment to Thaddeus. "Oh, it's the Game Boy again," Zara said in a flat tone. "Thanks." There wasn't a hint of excitement in her tone, even a hint of mockery. Thaddeus felt a pang of heartache as the effort he had put in seemed to go unnoticed once again. But he didn't show it. He just smiled and said, "As long as you like it, happy birthday, baby." After the party, Thaddeus sat in his living room, looking at the back of Zara and her friends as they left, frustrated. He began to wonder if perhaps his understanding of his daughter was still too superficial. Perhaps it is not enough to show love with material things. Just as Thaddeus struggles to keep his family together, an unexpected event makes him realize that perhaps he has been neglecting the most important thing of all. Zara's boyfriend, Orion, is a young and talented e-campaigner. Shortly after Zara's birthday, Orion participates in a major gaming tournament. Orion stayed up late training for days at a time with little to no sleep in order to get a good result. On the day of the match, Thaddeus notices that Zara is unusually nervous. He tries to comfort his daughter despite the constant tension between them. "Don't worry too much," Thaddeus said softly. "I'm sure Orion will behave himself." Zara just nodded and didn't say anything. She kept her eyes glued to the TV screen, nervously following the proceedings. However, halfway through the game, the unexpected happened. Orion suddenly collapsed on the playing surface and was rushed to the hospital. Zara is horrified and cries to go to the hospital. When Thaddeus learns the news, his first reaction is not to feel sorry for the loss of the game, but to worry about Orion's health. He immediately grabbed his car keys and told Zara, "We're going to the hospital now." On the way to the hospital, Thaddeus tries to comfort a panicked Zara. "Zara, how is Orion doing now? What did the doctor say?" Thaddeus asked with concern. Zara replied with a sob. "The doctor said he was weak from overwork. They're doing further tests." "Dad, do you really care about him?" Thaddeus replied seriously. "Of course, his health is more important than anything else. Winning or losing the game is not the most important thing. The most important thing is that he is safe and healthy. I know he means a lot to you, so he means a lot to me." In this moment, Zara looked at her father with more than a hint of warmth in her eyes. For the first time, she seemed to realize that her father was not the man she thought he was, who only cared about grades and success. At the hospital, Thaddeus initiated communication with the doctors about Orion's condition. He also reassured Orion's anxious parents that he would try to help. Thaddeus was relieved when Orion was finally out of danger. He turned to Zara and said softly, "It doesn't look like there's any major damage, but Orion's going to need some serious time off." Zara nodded, gratitude in her eyes. "Thank you, Daddy. Thank you for everything you did today." This unforeseen event makes Thaddeus suddenly realize that perhaps he has been too focused on giving materially and neglected to communicate emotionally. He decided that he wanted to change that and spend more time getting to know his daughter's inner circle instead of just working and making money. "Zara, let's go visit Orion together when he's better," Thaddeus offered. "If he needs any help, just let me know. We are a family and should support each other." Zara nodded, a long overdue smile on her face. "Thank you, Daddy. I'm glad to have you around." This small change gives Thaddeus hope. He believes that if he continues to love and understand with all his heart, he will one day be able to build a truly warm family relationship. However, unbeknownst to Thaddeus, as he struggles to repair his family's relationship, a much larger crisis is looming that is about to completely turn his life upside down. In the weeks following Orion's recovery, Thaddeus and Zara's relationship seems to have subtly improved. They began to communicate more and occasionally played games together. Although the atmosphere was still somewhat awkward, Thaddeus felt relieved that it was a step in the right direction. However, just when Thaddeus thinks that family ties are slowly being repaired, fate prepares a cruel blow for him. It was a normal Saturday afternoon and Thaddeus was in his study sorting through some old papers. Aria had taken Zara out shopping, and the rare quiet in the house gave him time alone. As he sorted his way to the bottom drawer of his desk, an unassuming craft paper bag caught his eye. "Strange, I don't remember this," Thaddeus muttered, curiously opening the paper bag. Inside was a stack of letters and a few photos. As he began to read the first letter, his heart suddenly sped up and his hands began to tremble slightly. "Dear Adam, last night was wonderful. Your arms make me feel so safe, so loved. Thaddeus recognized it as Aria's handwriting. Incredulous, he continued to read, each word like a sharp blade, piercing deep into his heart. The letter is full of affection for Adam and memories of their secret meetings. A trembling hand flipped to the photo, and Thaddeus's world crumbled in that moment. In the photo, Aria is snuggling into Adam's arms, and the two are looking close and happy. What breaks Thaddeus' heart even more is that he recognizes Adam. It's his half-brother. Thaddeus felt a wave of vertigo and had to hold onto the table to stay on his feet. A million questions flashed through his mind. When did this start? How long did it last? And did Zara know? Why Adam? Taking a few deep breaths, Thaddeus tried to calm himself down. He knew he needed more evidence and a complete picture of the situation rather than acting rashly. Thinking about it, he remembered an old friend of his, Marcus. Marcus is a private investigator and is well known in the industry. They were close friends from their college days and kept in touch, although they were each busy with their own crap after graduation. Thaddeus shakily picked up his cell phone and dialed Marcus' number. "Hey Marcus, it's Thaddeus. Is it convenient for you to speak now?" Thaddeus struggled to control his voice and not let his emotions show. "Thaddeus? It's been a long time, brother. What's wrong? You don't sound right." Marcus was keenly aware of the anomaly. Thaddeus took a deep breath. "Marcus, I need your help. It's about my family. I think I need some professional investigation." There was silence on the other end of the line for a moment. Then Marcus said gravely, "Understood. Let's find a safe place to meet and talk more." After hanging up the phone, Thaddeus slumped in his chair, feeling all the strength drained from his body. He looked at the family portrait on his desk, Aria's bright smile becoming so foreign to him at the moment. "Why?" he muttered. "What went wrong with our family? Adam, how could you do this to me?" Just then he heard the door open. Aria and Zara returned, accompanied by the sounds of pleasant conversation and the rustling of shopping bags. Thaddeus took a deep breath and forced himself to calm down. He carefully put the letter and the photographs back in their place, deciding not to move until things came to a head. "Honey, we're home." Aria's voice came from downstairs, sounding so familiar and gentle. "Coming," Thaddeus responded, not revealing the slightest hint of abnormality in his voice. He stood up, straightened his clothes, and walked out of the study. For the rest of the day, Thaddeus had to wear a mask and act like everything was normal. Every hug, every kiss, now stung him. He begins to watch Aria's every move. Every phone call, every text message could be hiding a terrible secret. Meanwhile, Marcus begins a secret investigation. He installed hidden cameras and tracked Aria's phone records and bank flows. Each day, Thaddeus waited in torment for new news. A week later, Marcus brought in hard evidence. The videos, photos, and call logs all point to the hard truth. Aria's cheating with Adam has been going on for years. What breaks Thaddeus' heart even more is that he discovers that Zara knows about it too, and has even helped cover up her mother's behavior on some occasions. "I'm sorry, man." Marcus patted Thaddeus' shoulder sympathetically. "I know how hard this is for you to accept, especially. It involves your brother." Thaddeus sat woodenly in Marcus's office, feeling like the whole world was falling apart. He remembers his childhood, his mother's indifference, the warmth his stepfather Quentin gave him, and Adam's constant jealousy of him. Now the loving family he had sworn to build had been destroyed by those closest to him. "What am I to do, Marcus?" asked Thaddeus, looking up with confusion and pain in his eyes. Marcus pondered for a moment, then said, "First, you need to protect yourself. I suggest you contact a good lawyer to prepare for a possible divorce. Second, you need to decide how to deal with Aria and Zara. Should we just show down or gather more evidence? As for Adam, this may involve a more complicated family dispute." Thaddeus nods, grateful to have a friend to support him in this trying time. "You're right, I need a lawyer. Do you have a recommendation for someone?" Marcus pulled out a business card. "Charles Darwin. He's one of the best divorce lawyers I know. He'll help you through this." Thaddeus took the card and felt a pang of bitterness. He never thought he'd need a divorce lawyer someday. But right now, it seems to be the path he has no choice. Leaving Marcus's office, Thaddeus didn't go straight home. He drove to a small hill on the outskirts of the city. This was the place he used to come when he was younger, overlooking the whole city. At this moment, the sun is setting, and the lights of the city are gradually coming on, beautiful and sad. Sitting in his car, Thaddeus allowed himself to actually break down for the first time. He howled, venting all the pain and anger that had built up over the past few days. He cried as he remembered bits and pieces of his acquaintance with Aria, the joy of Zara's birth, and countless moments when he thought he was happy. He also thinks of Adam, the brother he once loved and hated, who is now the one who betrayed him. The crying subsided and Thaddeus wiped away his tears, taking a deep look at the city at night. He knew that starting tomorrow, his life would be completely different. He needs to face betrayal, a broken family, and an unknown future. But for the moment, in the silence of the night, he allowed himself to dwell on the fantasies of the past one last time. Tomorrow, he will put on a mask of strength and begin to fight for himself. On the drive home, Thaddeus was determined to face whatever lay ahead, no matter how hard it was. For myself, and for the little boy who once dreamed of having a happy family. Thaddeus opened his eyes early the next morning and felt as if he had been through a long nightmare. However, the reality is harsher than the nightmare. He looked at the sleeping Aria beside him and his heart was filled with mixed emotions. Love, hatred, a sense of betrayal, and deep sadness. Thaddeus got up gingerly, not wanting to wake Aria. He needed time alone to think and make plans. Walking into his study, he picked up the card Marcus had given him, took a deep breath, and dialed Charles Darwin's number. "Hello, this is the law offices of Charles Darwin." A deep male voice came from the other end of the line. "Hello, I am Thaddeus Jacobs. My friend Marcus recommended that I contact you. I need counseling about a divorce." Thaddeus' voice trembled a little. Charles heard the pain in Thaddeus' voice and his tone became gentler. "Mr. Thaddeus, I'm sorry to hear that. Can we arrange an in-person meeting? It's best to discuss such matters in detail in person." After agreeing on a time to meet, Thaddeus hung up the phone and felt a wave of relief. At least, he has taken the first step. Over the next few days, Thaddeus carefully maintained a surface calm while secretly preparing for the coming storm. He met with Charles to discuss in detail the legal process of divorce and possible property division options. Charles advised him to continue to gather evidence while protecting his assets. "Thaddeus, considering your wife's infidelity and your brother's involvement, you have a huge advantage in the division of property," Charles explained, "but we need more hard evidence. You say your daughter Zara was privy to this? This could affect child custody issues." Thaddeus nodded, his mind a mix of emotions. He never thought he'd need to go to court with his own daughter one day. At Charles's suggestion, Thaddeus begins to covertly transfer some funds to a newly opened account while gathering more evidence of Aria and Adam's affair. Marcus continues to help him monitor Aria's movements, and each new revelation is as painful as a knife cut. Meanwhile, Thaddeus has to continue to play the role of an unsuspecting husband and father. Every night, he has to fight back the pain he feels inside, have dinner with Aria and Zara, and pretend it's business as usual. One night, Thaddeus could barely contain himself as Zara gushed about the good times she had with Uncle Adam. "Dad, are you okay?" Zara noticed Thaddeus' abnormality. Thaddeus forces a smile. "It's fine, probably just a little tired." "Go ahead. It sounds like you're having a great time with Uncle Adam." At that moment, Thaddeus saw a flash of panic in Aria's eyes. He knew that the time was ripe to reveal the deception. The next day, Thaddeus pretended to have work to attend to and returned home early. He waited quietly for Aria to return. When he heard the sound of a key being inserted into the lock hole, he took a deep breath and prepared to face the coming storm. Aria walked into the living room and looked a little surprised to see Thaddeus sitting there. "Honey, you're home early today." Thaddeus looked at her calmly. "Aria, we need to talk." Aria senses something unusual and asks warily, "What's wrong? Did something happen?" Thaddeus slowly pulled out the craft bag with the letters and photos and set it on the coffee table. "Perhaps you can explain this." Aria's face instantly turned pale. She picked up the letter with a trembling hand, fear and shame in her eyes. "Thaddeus, I can explain." "Explain what?" Thaddeus' voice was filled with pain and anger. Explain how you and my brother cheated on me for years behind my back? Explain how you lied to me and let me live in a false family? Or explain how you used my daughter to cover up your relationship? Aria falls to her knees before Thaddeus in tears. Please forgive me, Thaddeus. I I didn't know things would turn out this way. I love you, really. Thaddeus interrupted her coldly. Love? If that's what you call love, then I'd rather you hate me. Aria, we're done. I've contacted an attorney and you'll be receiving divorce papers soon. Just then, Zara pushed the door open and walked in. She was stunned to see her mother on her knees crying and her father standing expressionless. What happened? Thaddeus turned to Zara with disappointment in his eyes. Zara, you know about your mother and Uncle Adam, don't you? Zara's face instantly turned pale as she stammered. Dad, Dad, Enough. Thaddeus held up his hand to stop her from continuing. I don't want to hear any excuses. You've all betrayed me. You've betrayed this family. From now on, we are no longer family. With that said, Thaddeus turned and walked towards the den, leaving Aria and Zara crying in the living room. He closed the door and leaned against it, finally letting the tears come to his eyes. The dream of a family, built over many years, collapses completely in this moment. The next few weeks were unusually tense at home. Aria moves to the guest room and Zara tries to avoid contact with Thaddeus. Divorce proceedings are officially underway, and Charles Darwin goes all out to get the most favorable terms for Thaddeus. However, the real storm is yet to come. When Adam learns that things are falling apart, he shows up on Thaddeus' doorstep and tries to explain everything. Brother, we need to talk. Adam's voice came through the doorway. This is all a misunderstanding. Thaddeus pulled the door open violently, anger in his eyes. Misunderstanding? You call betraying your own brother and destroying his family a misunderstanding? Adam took a step back, clearly intimidated by Thaddeus' anger. Listen to me, Thaddeus. I love Aria. We didn't mean to hurt you. Thaddeus sneered. Love? You have no idea what love is. True love is not built on deception and betrayal. As of today, you are no longer my brother. Get out of my sight and never show your face again. With that said, Thaddeus slammed the door hard, leaving Adam standing alone. The storm sweeps through Thaddeus' entire world, but he knows that he must be strong. For himself, and for the little boy who once dreamed of a happy family, he must start over. During this difficult time, Thaddeus finds himself relying more and more on his work as a distraction. He put all his energy into game development, often working late into the night. His coworkers noticed the change in him, but had the good sense not to ask more questions. One day, while Thaddeus was working late alone in his office, he received an unexpected text message. It's his childhood friend he hasn't seen in years, Rose. Hey, Thaddeus. I heard about what happened to you recently. I'm always around if we need to talk. Thaddeus felt a twinge of warmth when he saw the message. Perhaps, in this dark hour, life still left him a glimmer of hope. Thaddeus stared at his cell phone screen, Rose's message seeming like a ray of light in the darkness. He hesitated for a moment before finally deciding to reply. Thank you, Rose. A lot did happen. Maybe we can meet up sometime and talk? A few days later, Thaddeus sits in a quiet cafe, waiting for a childhood friend he hasn't seen in years. The moment Rose pushed open the door and walked in, it was like turning back time. Her red hair was still striking and her smile was still warm. It's been a long time, Thaddeus, Rose said, hugging him gently. They began to chat, talking about the past from the recent past. Thaddeus found the confabulation surprisingly easy. Rose was a good listener. She wasn't in a hurry to give advice. She just quietly listened to Thaddeus finish his story. You know, Thaddeus, Rose said at last, you're a lot stronger than you think. The fact that you're still standing here after all that is a victory in itself. The words struck a chord somewhere deep inside Thaddeus. He realized that he had been grieving for what he had lost while ignoring what he still had. From that day on, Thaddeus began trying to rebuild his life. Instead of spending all his time at work, he began to develop new hobbies. He signed up for a photography class and realized he had quite a talent. He also started making time to go to the gym every week and slowly found a sense of control over his body. Meanwhile, the divorce proceedings are still ongoing. Charles Darwin did his best to get the most favorable conditions for Thaddeus. Considering Aria's infidelity and Adam's involvement, the court ultimately ruled in favor of Thaddeus. He gained ownership of most of the property, including the house they shared. However, the issue regarding Zara's custody has become a thorny dilemma. Though Thaddeus is deeply betrayed, he still loves the daughter. After much deliberation, he decided not to deprive Aria of visitation rights, but sought primary custody. "Are you sure, Thaddeus?" asked Charles. "Considering Zara's role in this, you have every reason to ask for full custody." Thaddeus shook his head. "I know. But Charles, I don't want to be the one to take away a child's relationship with its mother. I want Zara to realize that I still love her, despite everything that's happened." The court ultimately upheld Thaddeus' decision. The moment the verdict was announced, he saw a flash of surprise and gratitude in Zara's eyes. Perhaps this is the first step in repairing their relationship. Over time, Thaddeus and Rose's friendship grows. They started going out together a lot, sometimes to the movies, sometimes on hikes. Rose runs a small comic book store, and Thaddeus finds himself increasingly enjoying spending his free time there. One day, while Thaddeus is helping to organize the shelves at Rose's bookstore, Zara suddenly appears in the doorway. "Dad," she said hesitantly, "Can I talk to you?" Thaddeus looked at his daughter in surprise, then nodded. "Of course, come in." Rose had the good sense to step backstage to give the father and daughter some privacy. Zara took a deep breath and began to speak. "Dad, I'm so sorry for my behavior. I know I've hurt you, betrayed your trust. I'm not asking you to forgive me, but I want you to know that I really regret it." Thaddeus listened quietly, sensing the sincerity in his daughter's words. He slowly approached Zara and hugged her gently. "Thank you for coming to say this, Zara. I know this isn't easy for you. We all make mistakes, but the important thing is that we can learn from them. I love you and always will." Zara cried in her father's arms, the emotions that had built up over the days finally released. This hug became a new beginning for them to rebuild their relationship. Just then, Rose walks out from backstage and sees the heartwarming scene with a relieved smile on her face. Thaddeus noticed her presence and threw her a grateful look. Over the next few days, Thaddeus' life slowly got on track. He has achieved a new level of success in his work, having been involved in the development of a game that was a huge success. His relationship with Zara is also mending, and they begin to see each other on a regular basis, re-establishing the trust between father and daughter. Rose, on the other hand, becomes an increasingly important presence in Thaddeus' life. Their relationship grew beyond friendship, but both were careful not to rush it. Thaddeus and Rose were walking home together one night. The night sky was dotted with stars, and the air was lightly scented with flowers. "Rose," Thaddeus stopped abruptly and looked earnestly into her eyes. "Thank you. I don't know if I could have gotten through those tough times without you." Rose smiled and took his hand. "Thaddeus, you are stronger than you think. You were the one who got through that. I'm just glad to be there for you." It was at this moment that Thaddeus realized that he was ready to open his heart again. He kissed Rose gently, feeling a happiness and peace he hadn't felt in years. However, just as Thaddeus' life is getting back on track, an unexpected announcement shatters the peace. His grandfather, a wealthy industrialist he barely knew, died suddenly. Even more shocking to Thaddeus was the fact that his grandfather's will left him the majority of the shares in the family business. How is this possible? Thaddeus looked incredulously at the papers handed to him by his lawyer. The attorney explained, "Your grandfather has been quietly watching you, Mr. Jacobs. He was impressed with your hard work and integrity, especially the strength and character you showed during the recent family changes. He thinks you are the best person to take over the family business." This sudden inheritance not only revolutionized Thaddeus' financial situation, but also brought him new challenges and responsibilities. He needed to learn how to manage a large business while balancing his personal life. Rose supported Thaddeus wholeheartedly. "You can do it, Thaddeus," she encouraged. "You have the ability, the intelligence, and more importantly, you have a good heart. I'm sure you'll make an excellent leader." With Rose's support, Thaddeus decides to take on the challenge. He began to study business management in an effort to understand the workings of a company. His innovative thinking and experience in the gaming industry brings new energy to the company. Under his leadership, the company began to venture into the development of virtual reality technology and soon gained a foothold in the market. Rose, on the other hand, continues to run her comic book store, but it has expanded considerably. With Thaddeus' support, she opened a couple of locations and even started publishing some indie comics. Both have thriving careers, but they always remember to keep their lives balanced, making time each week to cook together, watch a movie, or just sit quietly in the backyard and talk. However, the shadow of the past has not completely dissipated. One day, while Thaddeus was working in his office, his secretary informed him of an unexpected visitor. "Mr. Jacobs, there is a Mr. Adam to see you. He said it was your brother." Thaddeus felt a palpitation, but he knew this day would come sooner or later. Taking a deep breath, he said, "Let him in." Adam walks into the office, looking much older than Thaddeus remembers. His eyes were filled with guilt and unease. "Thaddeus," Adam spoke, his voice shaking a little, "I know I have no business being here, but I need to apologize to you. I made a huge mistake, hurting you, hurting this family. I'm not asking for your forgiveness. I just want you to know that I really regret it." Thaddeus listens quietly, then lets out a long sigh. "Adam, your betrayal has indeed hurt me greatly. But over the years, I've learned one thing. Hate and resentment only continue to hurt myself. I wouldn't say I've completely forgiven you, but I don't hate you anymore either." Adam nodded, tears in his eyes. "Thank you for being willing to see me, Thaddeus. I just want you to know that I'm happy for you. I've heard about what you're accomplishing now and about your new family. You deserve it all." The two brothers finally shook hands, and while they may never regain their former relationship, at least they had both let go of the baggage of the past. This meeting with Adam has given Thaddeus a lot to think about. He realizes that although he has started a new life, there are still unresolved issues to face. A few days later, Thaddeus gets up the courage and decides to visit his mother, Zephyr. They've pretty much cut off contact since the family turmoil. As he stood in front of his mother's house, his mind was filled with apprehension. Zephyr was visibly taken aback when she opened the door and saw Thaddeus. "Thaddeus? What are you doing here?" "Mom," Thaddeus said softly, "I think it's time we had a talk." They were sitting in the living room, and the atmosphere was a little tense. Thaddeus begins to recount everything that has happened over the years, his pain, struggles, and how he eventually found happiness again. Zephyr listened quietly, her eyes gradually filling with tears. "Thaddeus, my child," Zephyr said at last, her voice choking, "I know I haven't been a good mother. I let my own pain and disappointment get in the way of treating you. Seeing how well you're doing now makes me. I'm so proud of you." It was the first time Thaddeus had heard his mother say she was proud of him. The words came too late, but they still warmed Thaddeus' heart. "Mom," Thaddeus said softly, "we've all made mistakes. But now, maybe we can start over? I want you to be part of my new family." Zephyr nodded, tears falling down her face. Mother and son hugged each other tightly, and years of separation seemed to have hope of being bridged in this moment. Life moves on, and Thaddeus and Rose's bond grows stronger. After a year of marriage, Rose became pregnant. When they learned the news, both of them cried tears of joy. "We're going to be parents, Thaddeus," exclaimed Rose. "And what a great dad you're going to be." Thaddeus hugged Rose tightly with a mixture of joy and a little apprehension. "I will do my best to be the best father I can be. Our children will be loved in a way that I was never loved in my childhood." During her pregnancy, Thaddeus took care of Rose in every way possible. He accompanied her to her labor and delivery appointments, searched for sudden snack cravings for her late at night, and even started learning about parenting. Zara also visits them often to help prepare the nursery. Thaddeus was relieved to see his daughter so enthusiastic, and their relationship had improved dramatically. Finally, Rose gave birth to a pair of dragon and phoenix babies. When Thaddeus held them for the first time, he felt a sense of happiness and responsibility that he had never felt before. "Welcome to the world, my little angels," Thaddeus whispered, tears in his eyes. "Daddy will always love and protect you." Rose smiled at the scene, tired but happy. What should we name them? Thaddeus thinks for a moment, then says, let's call them Jack and Sally. Jack, the brave explorer. Sally, the clever little princess. As time goes by, Thaddeus' life gets better. He has a thriving career and a happy family. Every night, as he looks at his sleeping LW and then at Rose beside him, he laments the magic of fate. However, Thaddeus has not forgotten his past. Using his experiences and resources, he continues to help children who have experienced family changes through the foundation. He often shares his story on various occasions and encourages people to never give up hope. One day, while Thaddeus is giving a speech at a charity event, he sees Aria on stage. She looked much more haggard after not seeing her for years. After the presentation, Aria volunteered to come forward. "Hello, Thaddeus," she said softly. "Your speech was touching. I'm happy for you." Thaddeus looked at her calmly. "Thanks, Aria. Are you okay?" Aria smiled bitterly. "Can't say it's great, but I'm trying." "Thaddeus, I know it's probably too late, but I wanted to say I'm sorry. Everything that has been done for me." Thaddeus nods. "Thank you for apologizing, Aria. I hope you find your own happiness." Watching Aria's departing back, Thaddeus felt a wave of relief. He can finally truly let go of the past and embrace the happiness of the present wholeheartedly. Back at home, Thaddeus sees Rose playing with the twins in the backyard and Zara teasing her brother and sister. The sunlight poured over them, forming a warm and harmonious picture. Thaddeus stepped forward to join the joyous scene. When Jack jumped at him with an excited "Daddy," when Sally smiled sweetly at him, and when Rose looked at him tenderly, Thaddeus knew that he finally had the loving family he had always dreamed of. That night, when the children were all in bed, Thaddeus and Rose sat on the swing set in the backyard, quietly gazing at the stars. "You know, Rose," said Thaddeus softly, "I used to think that true happiness was out of reach for me. But now, I finally realize that happiness is right around the corner, in every moment we create together." Rose snuggled into Thaddeus' arms and replied softly, "Yes, dear. We've been through so much together, but the best days are still ahead." "I love you, Thaddeus." "I love you too, Rose. Forever." Under the starry night sky and in the gentle night breeze, Thaddeus finally found inner peace. He knew that whatever challenges awaited him in the future, he would have the courage to face them all as long as he had love by his side. This is the story of Thaddeus, a tale of loss and regain, betrayal and forgiveness, and ultimately finding true love and happiness. It teaches us that hope never fades, even in the darkest moments. As long as we keep working hard and remain kind and courageous, happiness will eventually come knocking. Thank you for taking the time to listen to today's story. If you enjoyed it, please like and subscribe if you haven't already. If you have a story to share about your own or someone else's experience, please feel free to contact me. Take care.